Hello. Over the last 6 weeks, we have been looking at some reading skills. So, previewing, summarizing, visualization, questioning, and predicting. And today is the final reading skill, and it's one that involves all of the other five. It's called monitoring, and it's not only involving the rest, but it's probably the most important one. It's definitely the most important one on something like the TABE test. So, what is monitoring? Well, it is a way for you to take charge of your own reading so that you have independence and understanding of what you're reading. You feel empowered and responsible for your own reading comprehension. Gets you involved. Remember, I talked about passive reading and active reading. Monitoring is making sure that you are actively reading when you read. Because passive reading, you won't remember much. If you're actively reading, then you're going to remember a lot more. So, monitoring basically means that you don't need me there to help you out when you read. You don't, when you hit a word you don't know, you can go look it up. If you read a whole page and you don't understand any of it, you go back and start again. Make sure that you're going to understand it this time. And if you don't, then you need to go figure it out. Search it on Google or go to a friend or teacher and say, what is going on here that I don't get? So monitoring basically comes down to asking yourself questions while you're reading. And the most important one is, am I reading this? Which may sound like a stupid question, but a lot of times, I know this happens to me all the time, I'm not actually reading what I'm reading, I'm actually thinking about something else. And my eyes are just reading automatically. Like, I don't get any of what's being said because I'm thinking about something else. So, monitoring is the skill of recognizing that and making sure that you remedy it. So, you recognize that you're not understanding what you're reading, you're not really reading it, you're distracted in your head. Okay, deep breath. Start at the beginning of where you stopped listening basically to yourself read, and make sure that you're paying attention this time when you read. I have to do that all the time. I'll read a page and think, I'm sorry, what happened there? I was thinking about my lesson or something else. And, you know, I need to go back, and as frustrating as it is, read that page again. And sometimes I have to read it like 4 times because I've really got something on my mind, and maybe at that point I should be doing something about what I'm thinking about and, do the reading another time. But monitoring is asking yourself those questions. It checks for your comprehension, your understanding, and it involves self-correcting, I guess you'd call it. Correcting yourself when you see that you've made an error. So if you look at a word and you say read the wrong word, you think it's a word that looks similar, but then you get to the end of the sentence and it doesn't make any sense, then you can self-correct by going back, reading the sentence from the beginning, and catching that word that you read wrong the first time. Self-correcting is, well, it's a lot of what's going on in my head, being aware of what's going on in your head while you're reading. Reading does take attention. It takes, real concentration to read. So you need to be aware. You need to be thinking, am I actually reading this right now? If you're asking that question, you're probably not. And so you need to do something about it. You need to self-correct. Go back, focus, read it again. That's monitoring. And like I said, it's useful on the tape because if you're in the passive reading um, routine, you can just read through the passage on the test and not get anything out of it and have no idea how to answer the questions. But if you're monitoring yourself and you realize you're doing that, you can stop as soon as you realize that, go back, concentrate, and read it again. I think most of the people who don't achieve the TABE reading benchmark are having problems with focusing. So monitoring helps you with that. You ask yourself, am I focusing on this? Am I reading this? So you need to focus more. So you self-correct and you get down to business and you focus on what you're reading. And that, I think, is all some of you need to send your TABE scores through the roof. If you're not interested in the topic or the passage is really long, those are legitimately, obstacles in reading. But for that test, upon which so much of your future depends, right? Whether you're going to be in academics or not, you need to be in a different space. You need to be an active reader. You need to be a monitoring reader that predicts, that questions, that previews, that visualizes, summarizes as you're reading. Those are all things that you'll find in monitoring. Okay, so monitoring, most important skill that I could teach you. It's knowing when you're reading and when you're not reading. Knowing when you're understanding what you're reading and when you're not understanding what you're reading. And then self-correcting, going back and doing it correctly with more focus. All right, so there will be a monitoring assignment. You will see that probably right above this video. And that will be the last reading skill we look at in this unit. All right, thank you for your time.